Today, we're gonna go out back into the wilderness with the Outback Wilderness. Welcome to Drive Them All, the video series where I drive anything I can get my hands on and let you know exactly what I think. If this is your first time visiting our channel or watching one of our videos, well then you're gonna wanna check out our library of other car reviews. And if you really like what you see, would you please consider subscribing so you keep up to date on all the new fun stuff that we're doing as time goes on. Today, we're driving the Subaru Outback Wilderness, a brand new vehicle from Subaru designed to go just a little bit further off-road. How much further? Well, we're going to find out, and we're gonna put this vehicle to the test today on 3 different road conditions. We're gonna start off on a paved road to examine how well does the Outback Wilderness do on a daily commute. Then, we'll move to a dirt road and find out how the occasional off-road excursion can treat this vehicle. And finally, we're gonna wrap it up with a more hardcore abandoned dirt road and see what the Outback Wilderness is really made of. This is gonna be a lot of fun, so let's get to it. Not familiar with the Subaru Outback Wilderness? Here's your primer. It's a new trim level that Subaru is introducing starting with the Outback. It offers 9.5 inches of ground clearance, more than the standard Outback model, and rivaling some pickups. It also comes with specialized shocks, off-road tires, a new front and rear bumper designed for better approach and departure angles, and a modified transmission with a lower drive ratio. It comes standard with Subaru's X-Mode drive mode system for dirt, snow, and mud. And of course, it still has Subaru's industry-leading all-wheel drive. Under the hood, the Outback Wilderness is powered by a turbocharged 2.4-liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine. It puts out around 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. In theory, it should match up with this vehicle quite nicely, but one thing I want to point out while we're here under the hood is this oil filter. I know this is a strange thing to point out, but look at its position. It's right here on the top. You can get your hand around it and it's easily accessible, which for people like me who do their own oil changes, it's a DIYer's absolute dream to have this much access to an oil filter. So as impressive as this engine is at first look with the numbers and the way everything's laid out, let's take it on the road and see how it is in purpose. All right, so here we are behind the wheel of the Subaru Outback Wilderness. For our first test, we're gonna drive this vehicle down regular old paved roads and get a feel for what it'd be like on a daily commute. So the first thing I'm gonna do is set the X-Mode drive system down to normal, not down to, but over to normal. Now see, the X-Mode system has 3 different settings: normal, snow, dirt, and deep snow, mud. And we're gonna get a chance to try them all out here over the next few minutes on this video. But right now, we're gonna start on normal. See what kind of power this Boxer engine has for us. The CVT transmission is a little interesting, although it does simulate real shifts. So if you didn't know any better, you'd probably think that this was a regular geared transmission and not a continually variable one. And at least it has it going that in its favor. The Outback is really well composed. I like the steering feel. You almost get the impression that they've taken what they've learned with the WRX and the STI and brought it down to the Outback to give you a little bit of a sporty, more spirited drive, which I really appreciate. You don't have this impression that it's this big lumbering crossover or SUV that is just made to transport goods in the back. You know, you can actually have a little bit of fun, and the off-road tires aren't overly bouncy or pliable, so you're not feeling like you get a lot of body roll and otherwise stuff that would make you feel like you can't do emergency maneuvers or go through the corners and have a little fun. I do really like the interior in the Subaru Outback. We've got this huge infotainment system with a nice large screen that has all the things that you want to attack and use, like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You control all of the climate control, the heated seats. Everything is basically adjusted through this screen, which is good, but in other ways is a little annoying. If you want to change what drive modes you're in, you have to kind of poke through and make sure you're set up the right way. All the settings are not exactly right in front of you. Even the stop start disable is a virtual button on this screen. I wish there was a manual home button, but instead it's kind of coded here into the screen at all times. You just probably heard the lane departure warning system go off as I drifted over to the white line again. And that system you can have on a couple different modes, whether or not you want it to intervene or just warn you or turn it off completely. Subaru has packed quite a bit of safety systems into this vehicle, so you don't have to feel like you're giving up some of those extra technology items just because you're getting the off-road version, and I really like that. In fact, you're gonna end up using more of the safety systems, I think, on a daily basis than you are going to use the off-road capability, so it's good that Subaru included them. But with all of that said, it does come at a substantial price for the size of vehicle. This particular Outback Wilderness has a list price of around $38,000, which, you know, is not cheap, but it's also not expensive either. I think it's an all-around good value without being too terribly expensive. Also, I think you can get it a little bit less optioned out. This is the top of the line model, so don't think that 38 grand is what you're gonna have to pay if you absolutely want an Outback Wilderness. So as far as daily driving, I think we can certainly say that the Wilderness does an amazing job, especially with Subaru's full-time all-wheel drive. If you got that snowstorm you got to drive through to get to the office, or you just have a place that you need to be, you're not giving up anything by not getting a full-size or more conventionally configured SUV or truck. The Outback Wilderness is going to give you all of that capability in a much more convenient and friendly package. Challenge number 2, the occasional dirt road that is still really well maintained. This should really be the Outback Wilderness's bread and butter, and for that I'm going to put the X mode in snow/dirt to give us a little bit more composure, and let's see how it does. Now with that added ground clearance, that means that any sort of rutted or bumpy road, it should suck it all right up in and still give you the comfort and not rattle your teeth in the process, and so far that's exactly what the Outback is doing. There is a little bit more road noise. Subaru has never been the most sound deadened vehicle lineup that you could ask for, but it's not typically really annoying, but you are gonna have all those bumps and stone kind of sounds travel into the cabin, but again, not something that you're gonna find overly annoying. I can tell right away that these tires are giving me a little bit of extra grip that I'd want. Can bring the vehicle back and forth, and we're not sliding or rolling or otherwise feeling unsafe. It's really good. I can tell that the Outback Wilderness, especially with these off-road tires, is just going to be amazing in the winter. In fact, I wish I had this in January with a big snowstorm, because I'd feel really confident, just as confident as I would in a full-size truck, for it getting me to from point A to point B. It's truly remarkable what Subaru's done in terms of daily driving and allowing people to have a vehicle that is good from daily commuting down to traveling on dirt roads. I would say that the Outback Wilderness has passed test number 2, the occasional dirt road that is well maintained. So let's move on to our next test. All right, so here we are on our third and final road challenge. What we're about to take the Outback Wilderness down is what some may consider an abandoned trail, but in reality here in New Hampshire, this is called a Class 6 abandoned road. This was a road at one point in time, but now it's just a trail through the woods that is not maintained at all, which means who knows what we could encounter, but we're gonna find out if the wilderness is up for it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put it in deep snow / mud so that we're prepared for whatever comes in front of us. Now the start of this road is more of a dirt road. It's not too bad, it's not very bumpy. And of course, as we already figured out, the Outback Wilderness handles these kind of conditions with ease, especially with its full-time all-wheel drive. But as we go further down this road, I think it's gonna get a little bit more gnarly, and that's when we're really gonna put this thing to the test. As we go further down this trail, it's moved from dirt road into more of a logging trail. You can tell there's been some equipment down here. Things are kind of rutted out a little bit, but it's not too bad. The Outback is just taking it in stride. No sliding, no anything. And as we come up to our first rut, big ruts, again, no big deal. That's Outback Wilderness just soaks all those bumps up, and it's barely an inconvenience. Now we're getting to our first muddy area, and again, the all-terrain tires are just taking us right through. No slipping, no sliding, everything you would want to feel confident going down a trail that you really don't know what is on the other side of it. As we pick up the pace here, the road is still in pretty good condition. There's not too many ruts around, and we're, making good progress down this road. The added suspension travel and ground clearance is really letting me move through the landscape without any fear of bottoming out or overextending my suspension. Coming up on some logging here where there's some work, and now that we're past where the heavy equipment is gone, the road is getting a little more gnarly. I guess you could probably tell by the shaking back and forth. We've got rocks sticking up in the middle of the road, mud puddles everywhere that we've got to drive through. But otherwise, this thing is handling it perfectly. I couldn't ask for anything better. In fact, I first started driving down this road when I was a teenager, and I used my full-size truck and S10 ZR2 with big knobby BF Goodrich tires, and even took a Hummer H2 down this road when I was younger, and man, it took all of those vehicles' capability back then. For our first mud puddle. This is just fun. It's not even scary at all. The fact that this Subaru can handle this, we're going through mud, can handle this, and I'm not even a little bit nervous, is just a big testament to the Wilderness's capability. As I was saying before, I've driven down this road in full-size trucks and Hummers in the past, and this Subaru Outback Wilderness is stacking right up with them. I have no complaints with its capability. In fact, it's eating up this terrain and asking for more. We're going through more mud puddles here. Oh, what fun. Now this is the muddiest section yet, and we're not slipping or sliding or doing anything. We are literally eating this terrain up and taking it all in. No problem. Another mud puddle here. All right, yeah, this is actually a really good time. Coming up to our third big mud puddle here. Let's try this. Woo! That's great. Spewing water and mud everywhere and no problems at all. The Outback Wilderness is just asking for more. I think in any other smaller crossover, I'd be really hesitant to go into deep puddles like that, not sure that the tires could bring me out and get me onto the other side. But with the Outback Wilderness, it is just confidence in spades. You can't ask for something to drive any better than this. I mean, I feel like I could be in a full-size truck with four-wheel drive. It's giving me that much ability, that much trust in the platform that it'll take me through to the other side. So, you know, just a mile through this trail and I can tell you it's passed this test with flying colors. I mean, from pavement to dirt road to trail, the Outback Wilderness can perform and deliver you to the other side no matter what lies in between. So after all of that, driving this vehicle on road, on dirt roads, and out in the middle of nowhere, I think it's super safe to say that the Subaru Outback Wilderness is quite the vehicle. It will get you by on 95% of what you're doing on a daily basis without any complaints. And when you need that extra little bit of capability to go deep off-road, go through a mud puddle or over some rutted terrain, you're gonna have absolutely no worries. And its performance today has really got me convinced that even in the worst weather conditions, from snow to mud, dirt, ice, this vehicle will get you there. And that's one of the reasons that people have been buying Subarus for as long as I can remember. They're safe, they're comfortable, they have the feature set and the capability to use as a daily driver with the skill set that you need when the weather and the roads and the going gets tough. All without the form factor of a full-size truck or a big honkin' SUV. So if you're interested in a vehicle that will give you that daily comfort with all the skills you need to get to work no matter what kind of conditions that you need to go through, I would highly recommend that you check out the Subaru Outback Wilderness. I'm Zane for Drive Them All, and I'll see you next time.